Hi, MES students. I hope the first video was helpful in just helping you understand what the DAQ is, what it does, and just basic reading. In this video, I'm going to hit a few more things that'll be helpful for you, specifically how to read multiple samples at one time and do averages. And then the other way to break out the different channels. And the advantage of that new way is going to then allow you to feed those signals into a MATLAB block that will allow you to do your math. Instead of having to use these individual symbols, you'll be able to just write equations just like if you were in MATLAB. Okay, before we do, I want to point out a couple of things about timing that might help you with programming. Okay, so the way LabVIEW works is any block that's able to run will run as soon as your program starts. So this program right here, what's going to happen? As soon as it starts, this block right here, the DAQ block, is going to run. But also is this section. There's nothing holding it up. So this sample rate is going to be live feeding into there, this 1,000, and that timer is going to be live. So that's why the timer works. So as soon as it hits this block, it starts reading. It also starts timing. Whichever one finishes first, it then just sits there and waits on the other one. Once everything has finished, then it loops all the way back around. So you see these blocks, they don't happen until this one's finished because they're wired to this one. So this one finishes, then it goes and displays. And so now let's just say we're sampling faster than this block can go. Well, this block happens, it finishes. This one hasn't finished yet. It's still sampling. You know, it's still reading. It works its way through here. When this finally gets displayed here, now they're both done. It loops around and starts all over again. Now let's say that this can sample really fast, and we're telling this to wait 2 seconds. Well, what happens? This samples really fast. It's right here, but this guy hasn't waited 2 seconds yet. Both of these aren't done, and so this loop doesn't complete until that 2 seconds is up. Then it loops again. Okay, so that is the way LabVIEW works. Everything that can work, isn't dependent on something, starts as soon as the program starts. So that's how this timing block actually controls you going around. And that's why either this or this, whichever is the slowest, is what controls how quickly this loop goes around. The other thing I just wanted to point out is I changed our timing so that we're actually entering the sample rate we want, hertz, how many samples per second. So we take 1,000 milliseconds divided by however many samples per second we want, and that's what's going into our timer. And you'll see why I did that when we actually do some things with average. Okay, great. So now let's go back over and look, whoops, I went to the wrong thing, and look at our new one. So I've opened up a new VI, so it's blank right now. And what I'm going to do is I want to open up this block diagram too. That's what I meant to do. Instead of resetting this up, I'm actually going to just copy this guy, go to my new VI, and I'm going to paste that. Now I could have started from scratch, but then, and I'm going to double click on it, but then I would have had to go in, change the names like I did before, change the ranges, all that kind of stuff. I didn't want to do that. The only thing I want to do in here is change this to in samples. So, and I'm not going to worry about the samples to read and the rate, and I'll show you why in just a second. Let that guy read, come back around for us. There it is. Now, one of the things I want to show you is a lot of these blocks, if you pull them down, you'll find they have a lot of options. So look right here, there's rate and there's number of samples. That's why I didn't enter it. So I'm going to come right here and right click and say create control. I'm going to come right here and right click and say create control. That's going to allow us to actually enter those. Then I'm going to come right here to data, and I'm going to right click and say create graph indicator. Now we really do want a graph now because if I told it to collect 1,000 samples, I have 1,000 samples in my hand when I leave this block. So now I want to graph them. I'm not doing a chart one at a time. I have all these points and I want to graph them. So now if we go to our front panel, you'll see what we have. And now let's say we want our rate to be 2 samples a second and we want to calculate 10. We want to collect 10. So that should take 5 seconds. So let's run it. Now when I run it, remember what's going to happen. It's going to get the right block diagram. When it hits this, it's going to send control over to the piece of hardware. My program's going to stop. It's going to wait 5 seconds. Then it will come back to this, which means it will then go and display it. So nothing should happen for 5 seconds. So let's do it. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. Bam, there it is. So it went and collected 10 samples. Now I'm going to right click on my graph, say properties, and I'm going to go to plots. And this is going to let me, I want to put some markers on there so we can see them. So there's my left. I'm going to put a solid. And now let me go to right, and I'm going to put an opened. Perfect. Okay, so you see now you can actually count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nice. Okay, so you see it did exactly what we wanted it to. And if I change the rate to 3, and like I said, I really can't remember what the rate of this one is, but I think it can do 3. Then I'm going to hit it. It's still going to collect 10. It's just going to do it a lot quicker. Okay, so that is when you want to get a lot of samples and then take an average, that's how you do it. Okay, so that's nice. Now let me show you how you can take an average on that, because that's normally what you're doing. You're doing this because you want to take out some noise, you want to take multiple readings, and you want an average of it. So I'm going to move this out of our way. Okay, we need the individual signals. How do we do that again? We come right here, right click, signal manipulation palette. We go like this. We also could use the other method that I'm going to show you to do this, and I'll reference that in just a second when you see what this does for us. So I'm going to highlight and go right there. Now I need an average block. One of the cool things with LabVIEW is it can do just about any kind of math manipulation that you want to do. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to say mathematics, and I'm going to look down here, probability and statistics. And so you see all these kinds of things that it can do. Like it would make a histogram for me. It would calculate an average. It would do all kinds of different stuff. I'm going to pick this standard deviation and variance, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to drop it. Now what does that do? Remember this, click the question mark, move it up so we can see it, make this guy a little bigger for you. There you go. So I'm going to roll over top of this so you can see it. And so now notice, this outputs the average, the standard deviation, and the variance. So with this one block, I get the average and the standard deviation if I want it. Okay, very nice. So I'm going to wire this up. The data is right there. Bammo. And it's like, whoa, what did it do? You see that little thing right there? That's converting from this dynamic data to an actual number. So this guy needs an actual number to calculate, not the blue. It has the number, it has timing, it has all kinds of other things wrapped in there. It just needs the number. And so you see it converted it from the blue to the orange. It did that for us. Now you see that little dynamic thing? That's actually going to be the tool that we're going to use. That's the second way to get multiple signals, okay? For right now, we're not going to worry about it. So once you know how to use these, you actually could have bypassed this and not used that at all. But using the splitter is an easy way when you want to do stuff. So I'm going to click that, say edit, copy, edit, paste. And now I'm going to do the same thing for this channel. I'm going to wire it in. And now remember, the top one is the mean, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to say create indicator. And remember, the first thing I read was the left, so I'm going to say left mean. And now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to right click and say create indicator. Same thing, I'm going to say right mean. Okay, so let's go look at our front panel. And now you see where we got the left mean and the right mean. So now let me run it. And let me go back to 2 so I can count that easy. 5 seconds. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. Did you see our graph update? 4.35 and 0. And one of my power supplies is completely turned off. The other one is set there. Okay, so that's doing an average. Now, a lot of times we want to do both. We want to look at it live, and then when we're ready, we want to take an average, and then we want to go back to looking at it live. So let me show you how to put the program from the first video with this video to allow you to do that. So I'm going to go back to the first one to start with, and I want to go to the front panel. There we go. Now, one of the things I want to show you is I added our right power supply twice right here because I want to show you something. If you right click on a number and go to either properties or display format, and if you go to properties then display format, you get this. This shows you how it's going to display. Now, one thing I want to point out, a lot of times by default this advanced editing is clicked. And you get that and it's like, whoa, this looks really weird. Hit the default. And digits of precision versus significant digits. Digits of precision will give you that many digits. So here's what I did just to show you is on this one right here, I have 3. And then on the one beside it, I have, notice, 4. And I just want to show you what that does when we run it. And I've got a sampling rate of 1, so that it'll go kind of slow. But so notice down here, it's only given us 3. It's rounding to 3 for us. So notice over here, you know, this one's changed, that last digit's changing, but this one's not because it's all within the rounding of 4. Every now and then, this will go up enough, and then that digit's going to go up. So that's just, you know, you have the power to make LabVIEW, the numbers, all that kind of stuff look like you want. You just got to look around a little bit to see how to do it. Also, if the number won't fit in, you can just let it grow and then there'll be enough for it to fit in. Okay, so now let's go back into here. And what I'm going to do, just to make this smaller, I'm going to get rid of all this stuff when we were adding to the left and the right. We don't need to do that. You know how to do that now. So I'm going to delete all that, hit Control B to clean up all the blocks. We still have that guy, so let me get rid of it. Control B. Okay, so what are we doing? We're reading it, we're putting it on a chart. We're displaying the left and the right, and we only need to do the right once now. Okay, very nice. I'm going to hit Control B again. I'm going to take this, move it down here. I'm also going to take these guys and move them. And I'm going to pull this guy down. Okay, I'm also, and you'll see why I'm going to do this in a minute. I'm going to move these guys up to get them out of the way. Now I'm going to make our while loop smaller. And I'm just doing that so we'll be able to see everything on one screen. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to our new one, and I'm going to take all this, whoops, and I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to paste it over here. Nice. Okay. So now, what would happen right now if I ran this is it would give me an error because this would start and then this would try to start and it would be like, dude, what are you doing? You're trying to run two at one time. In fact, let me just run it and you'll see. It'll be like, whoa, it's saying I can't start this because one's already running. Okay, not a problem. I knew that was going to happen. Now, I'm going to do a couple of other things. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to completely delete that. I'm going to hit clean up. And I'm going to take this number of samples and I'm going to pull it into here. So that way, when my program first runs, I'll get the chance to put number of samples. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire it and come like this. Now, one of the things I've just done is now these two blocks are tied together. So this one is not going to run too soon now because it's got to wait until this is finished. Now, something else that I have learned to do to tie them together in case I don't have that is I tie the error out over here to the error in. Now, I honestly have no idea what that does. All I know is that ties this DAQ to this DAQ, so this one's not going to start until this block gets finished. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do is, here's my rate. So I'm going to take my rate and tie that right to there. That's why I went ahead and divided this so we would have an actual rate so I can tie it in here. Okay, so now look what's going to happen. I'm going to run my program. All this is tied to this loop, so nothing's going to happen. So it's going to display live just like we did when we first got it. When I hit the stop button, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to call this stop live. And it may change on the front screen, it may not. We can fix it. When I hit this stop button, that means this loop is going to exit. It's going to come out of this loop. It's going to hit this. It's going to take an average, however many I say I want at this rate. It's going to display them, and the program will stop. So let's do that. Let's go to our front panel, and let's pull some of these things over here closer to us. Okay, and then the other thing is, let's rearrange our things some. So there's the left mean, and there's the right mean. So there's our live numbers, and then that's going to be our average. So let's start it and see what happens. I'm going to move my power supply around. Yep, the live guy's doing it. Let me move the other guy a little bit. Yep, so they're going live. Notice the means aren't changing because that part of the program isn't even running. But so now let's say I want my sample rate again at 2 and 10 samples. So now when I hit stop, we should get a 5. This is going to stop because it's leaving this block and it's going to this one. So when I hit stop, this is all going to stop. There'll be a 5-second delay and this will update. So stop 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Okay, I don't know if you noticed, but the first time I ran that, it didn't do what I thought it was going to do. I'm like, that's weird. I was in a hurry. Look what I'm doing. I'm giving it a rate of 1,000 over the sample rate. That's not what I want to do. So I need to delete that. I'll actually delete the whole thing. Even that little guy, I could have just redone it. Control B, I want to go, that is my rate. That's what I want to go right into there. Okay, so now let's run it. You see we're about, in fact, let me move it so our average isn't going to be the same. So 4 there. Let me go to 2 there. Now when I hit stop, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. Bam, everything updated, it ended. That's what we would have expected to happen. Okay, nice. Okay, so now one last thing. We really want to then go back to live. So what we're going to do is we're going to come, if I can get my mouse back. There we go. We're going to come up here and we're going to put this whole thing in another loop. So I'm going to say structure, while loop. We're going to come like that. And now I've got to create a control. And then that will stop the whole thing. So what's going to happen? Our program's going to stop, innermost, this will start. Once it gets done, it'll go to here, it'll hit that and loop back around. So let's go watch it. So it's running live. I press that. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. Bammo, we're back to live. So now instead of that, I'm going to collect 5 samples. It'll go a lot quicker. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3, back to live again. See, this guy's rolling. Okay, so now I'm going to hit this guy, and it's like, why isn't it stopping? Well, because I'm still in this loop. If you want your program to stop, you're really going to have to just do the stop button. Because here's why. If I run it and I hit this, it's not going to stop. Why not? Well, because I'm in this block right now. I'm not in this big one. And then by the time I come out of here, then this is reset and I go back. Now, if you really want that button to work, you can do that. You have to connect these buttons together and do ORs and some things like that. But I quite honestly find it just as easy to stop my program with this. Okay, so that shows you how to do live, exit out, take an average, continue to go. And then just like before, this average right here, let me stop my program. This average is a number. So now you can do math with that average and whatever you want to do with it. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is the other way to get individual signals. So I'm going to move this stuff out of the way. Now, one of the nice things is most of these things you can scroll down. Like I can move all this guy. I could have highlighted them and moved them. And I want to get this guy out of the way too. Nice. When you have wires that are really weird, mine are all pretty nice right now. But you can click on the wire and right click and say clean up wire and it'll rearrange it. One point I did mean to make, when you're learning how to program something, you just have to be curious and try. You know, you see what someone else does and you're like, ooh, I might be able to use that here. So you go and try it. You see about right clicking, so you try that. What can I learn by right clicking here? But you got to just be curious and try it. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to delete this guy. Bam. And I'm going to clean up my wires, Control B. Now I'm going to go right here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say Signal Manipulation Palette. And then down here, from dynamic data type. Because I want to convert from a blue wire to a green wire, from the dynamic data to an actual number. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to put that right here. And then it gives me all of these options. Array, you remember, when I read 1,000, there's an array there. Well, we're not reading 1,000, we're reading 1. So I'm going to come down here. All I want is a single scalar. And notice it says channel. That's referring to the order of the things that I read in my DAQ. Whichever one I read first is 0, the next one is 1. So in our case, the first thing I read was left, then I read right. But I'm going to leave that open for right now. And I'll show you why here in just a second. Remember my little question mark? I'm going to go like that. Now, and make this so you can see it. And now I'm going to scroll over this guy. See, converts from dynamic data to numeric. And so you see it comes in dynamic, it goes out of scalar, but look at the top, there's the channel number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire this thing up, and I'm going to come right up at the top, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say create a constant, and I'm going to put 0. So what this is going to have in it is the first thing, and this is a good example. See how the wire's going all kinds of weird? I can right click and say clean up the wire, and it'll make it the best that it can be for that. So I'm going to close this guy for us. So what's this going to do? It's going to take the first thing I'm reading. I'm going to double click on this just so we can see it. What's the first thing I'm reading? Left power. What is that actually? It's analog in AI 0. So that's going to be 0, that's going to be 1. You see the order right here, 0, 1. That's what it's referring to. Cool. So now that's my left. So I'm going to do that, and now wire that right up to there. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these, and now I'm going to say edit, copy, edit, paste. I'm going to move this guy down, and now I'm just going to change that to a 1, and I'm going to wire this in, and now that's my right. So now I can come up here, connect that. That is the other way. So now if I went to my front panel and I ran it, now I'm going to take my right power supply and I'm changing the voltage, and lo and behold, you see it's changing. I'm going to take my left power supply, lo and behold, it's changing, and we still have our average, so I'm going to hit that. Bammo, it updated the averages. Noticed it stopped after it collected. Sometimes the buttons, it remembers a previous button press. Sometimes it gets confused. If I just restart, now I hit, it's going to go collect. The buttons are back straight. Now it's back to live again. Okay, so that's really all of the basics. With that, it's now up to your creativity to say, okay, how do I take these tools and combine them in a way to get done what I want to do? The only thing you haven't seen, and Nathan can show you this, is now how do I now take these, run them into a MATLAB block where I can actually do arithmetic with equations instead of having to do the cumbersome, when you have a whole bunch. So I hope that helps, and good luck just working with LabVIEW, doing what you need to do to collect data and do the processing on it.